The interesting thing is when Pastor brought out the envelope, even before he brought out the envelope, I knew that I was going to be picked. But how I knew was listening to the message. That's where the definition came. What Sister Fido was also given, Floretta. I'm like, okay, I know God, it's next. Because I think where mine fits in is also where Floretta had just finished. She's also saying, last thing she was talking about was everyone has a purpose in life. Now, my message for the day was, how are we advancing in our life's purpose in line with our Father's wishes? Now, as humans, naturally, we always think that it's by our own strength that we can do things. Through science, we use our intellect. Through dialogue, we use our perception. But all of that is nothing. I mean, going back into Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 10, 17, 18. Reading from the AMP. As the scriptures say, if you want to boast, boast only about the Lord. When people commend themselves, it doesn't count for much. The important thing is for the Lord to commend them. I'm going to go, if you go to Jonah 1. Amen. Now, this is first call. This is Jonah's disobedience. Everyone has a purpose in life. Now, if we read from 1. Now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up before them. It was a very simple message that the Lord had for Jonah. But what did Jonah do? He went, me, Lord? No. He tried to move somewhere else. So he went the opposite direction. And he went over to find the nearest boat to get him somewhere else, to Timoth. Now, in the boat that he was with in Timoth, he had bought a passage there, but during the passage, he got in with the other people and he said, okay, and then he fell asleep. Reading from there, the great storm, this is from Jonah 1:4. But the Lord sent out a great wind into the sea, and there was a mighty tempest in the sea, so that the ship was likely to be broken. Now, I'm comparing that to parts of our life. Lord has given us specific things to do, and it's quite clear the message. But what we tend to do is also try to go the other way at times, whether using our heart or our mind. But like the storm when Jonah was on the ship that woke him up, you find that there is certain tribulations or there's key events that happen in our lives that at first we think, oh Lord, why me? Why not you? This is your time. So there are some things that are shake us, but then is really to prepare us really where we are. Now going back on again. So how are we advancing in our lives and life's purpose? Let's ask ourselves, what have we achieved in our divine purpose that the Lord has given us so far? What steps are we making to ensure that we reached our goal? It's a trick question, actually. The moment we try to apply our mindset specifically in humans, then we've already lost the message. What we need to do is stay close with the Lord through prayer and through fasting. And what's also fine is that not by our might alone, but it's Lord's Spirit, And that essence comes through humility, actually. Because once we know that it's not us, not the chosen person, but it's by His grace, and we put everything aside. Going back and looking at David, when he came, when he was chosen, he wasn't chosen, he was out in the field while all of his brothers were brought out. And you're looking at, if you looked at him, he's skinny, fighting. So no, this is not him. The exact opposite of what you would preconceive a person would be to fight that giant. So each and every one of us, whatever tribulations we have, whatever life throws at us, we already have that victory. It doesn't matter whether it's a particular things in your workplace, like, what's going on? Or a circumstance. That faith is within us. Now, one thing that is quite apparent, and again, I know Sister Fede was saying that on this side of the pulpit, giving a message, it is a double-edged sword, because at the same time, there's certain things that also relate to yourself. I put my hands up. There were times where, part of throughout my life, with certain circumstances, but I saw how Lord has brought me out. But it's at those times where I sort of give release, like this storm, you're in a ship, and you're like, wow, this is it. But there's a particular moment when there's a certain calmness that happens. And when is that calmness? That's when I hear the Lord giving me all of the answers to my particular situation. It's at the times when I'm trying to do physically things with my might or my mind. I can control this. This is what I want to do. I'm quite clear that I lose sight. But I find that when it's released and released it to the Lord is in fact where I find all my solutions. So back onto the title, how are we advancing our life's purpose in line with our Father's wishes? Is being truly dedicated, humble, obedient, diligent, and having absolute faith in the Lord. That's my message for today.